Hello, everyone. Thank you for opportunity to moderate a discussion. It's really honor and pleasure for me to speak with our panelists, and I hope that you will have inspirations and practical examples of each of our panelists. So let's start. We are a bit late, so I would like, without long introductions, go to the first question, and I would like to ask our Vice Minister, Eva, in your opening speech, in your welcome speech, you mentioned that homophobia and discrimination really cost to our society. I would like you to emphasize once again, why is that so important, workplace diversity to the whole Lithuanian society?
Thank you very much. So yes, once again, we can actually quantify discrimination, and it not only damages country's image, but has a direct impact on the economy. Respect to human rights, of course, it creates economic value. But your question was about the whole society. Yesterday, while getting ready for the event, I looked into Gender Equality Index of the European Institute of Gender Equality. First of all, I was terribly saddened by our results. Lithuania right now is in the 20th place, and I cannot call it an honorable place in any means. After that, I looked into more details, and what was clear to me is that our failure in some categories can be explained by the general wealth or actually lack of it in the economy. Not enough of us are involved in voluntarily or charitable services, at least once a month, for example. We still have not enough time or money for sporting, cultural, or leisure activities outside our home, and at least several times a week. So it is slowly changing, and regarding the charitable activities, I think situation in Ukraine helped us to find our philanthropic potential. I just hope that it stays this way. But what Lithuanian women lack are actually time and power. We need more women on company boards, that is clear, but there is no simple answer how to do that. And that is an even more challenging task if you are a policymaker. Company board quota can be effective, but it can also have adverse effects. If those women are put on a board just for a number, then that even worsens their situation, and it can be viewed as women can be started to be viewed as unprofessional or weak. And this sometimes happens in some countries that have introduced a board member quota. So we must not only notice women, we must notice the best women. We also could give women more time by extending, for example, parental leave, but we know that this can lead to a declining self-confidence. For some of us, it's very hard to come back to a job after a year or two. This is the same not only for women, but for unemployed persons as well. So another aspect is a political power. While I mentioned before that share of women ministers is above the EU average, in Lithuania, women is still minority in our parliament, and reserved seats might still not solve the problem. I know from research that, for example, despite the fact that Social Democrats in Lithuania, they had a women quota in their list, when it comes to the elections, their voters rate women down. Also, we have a problem closer to home. This is a fact that women spend more time doing house chores and taking care of the children. And that is universal, not for Lithuania, but for the whole EU as well. So this time spent taking care of your loved ones takes away their time that can be spent on a more meaningful explorations like studies or hobbies that can later be turned into business. And just adding to that, listening to all other speakers that were giving their presentations, I see that it is very important that change is a constant work. There is no end result to that. It is very important to lead by example. And as I said, noticing the best women, and that's what we are trying to do when talking about state-owned enterprise company boards. And as I mentioned as I mentioned before, it is very important to look at the issue not only from a very distant perspective, but we must do that constant work, each and every one of us. So, as I said, there are some problems that might be solved by making policy adaptations, but there are still some things that we can do as persons, each and every one of us. So these two things, as I said, is like vote for women and wash dishes. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Joa. And I would like to come back to the topic of innovation and diversity, and what is the correlation between those two. I would like to ask Indre, from your knowledge and experience, maybe practical experience, how is that related, diversity and innovation? You work in ICT sector, so is it really correlation? Is it causality, or?
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here and join a panel discussion. Like everybody preparing for today's discussion, I was getting inspiration from various places, and one of it came from reading a book for my 5-year-old. It was inspirational stories of people who have reached great things in life. So it was Katherine Johnson, who was a mathematician, and thanks to her calculations, the first and subsequent crewed space flights were successfully. So basically for her and her team, we can thank for the moonwalk and for the first man in the moon. And she was African American, she was a woman, and she was the first in 1950s to get into that position. But thanks to breaking that ceiling and these walls, until now, 60 years from now, we're still talking about, American first man on the moon. So that just shows that, you put away all the biases and great things are achieved because people are people and they have great ideas. So that was just an inspirational example. Now, coming back maybe down to earth, coming back to business, what business likes is the money. They like, it just makes sense. Business is to make the money, then everybody profits. And again, Bloomberg research said that 40% of the world wealth is held by women, only 40% sadly. But they make or influence up to 80% of purchasing decisions. And then the following analysis says then if you have a more diverse team, that will give you a better return. So it just makes sense to have a diverse teams because it reaps you a benefit. Let's look back again, very local level for us as Telia. And I really enjoyed Baiba said that innovation doesn't mean creating new grand things. Maybe it's just tuning something and making something better. So very close example for home, for Telia maybe. Last year we launched a gaming solution, gaming center in Sweden, and it's a solution that's brings to everybody possibility to play the games, enjoy the newest games for companies, for events, for society. And what they did, they can cater it for people with disabilities or with special needs as well. So basically you just expand your target audience that you can provide the solution for more people to enjoy, and that's also, how to say, very valuable. So I think these very simple examples, it just shows that the more diverse team you have, the better angles you can discuss. Maybe you need to discuss more, because of course we like when everybody agrees with my point, but then you don't get creative solutions, you don't get pushed, you don't get somebody disagreeing and saying, wait, but I don't think this will work maybe for my target group, my target age. So that's why it's good to have maybe older people, people coming from different countries, from different backgrounds. That gives you this better solution. And in small things, in everyday tweaks, in selling your product, in creating your product, that's where, you know, the diversity kicks in, and that's a real benefit of it. So I think that's the main point in the innovation together with diversity.
Okay, thank you, thank you. And I want to ask Rugile. Rugile is a leader for association of the company, so we have a lot of examples. Maybe you can tell us now, is it really, there is a correlation between diversity and innovation? I would like to be provocative, because diversity also brings some challenges, you know. You have to, yes, you have pool of ideas, but you have to manage them, and pool of needs of different people, different types of people. And is it really, sometimes maybe it can slow a process, not to make them faster. So what's your opinion?
Thank you, and hello to everyone. Yes, in fact, it could be slower in the beginning, but when I was listening to what Indra was saying, so in my mind I repeated the words yes, yes, yes to everything that she said. Because when I'm thinking about innovations, it's not only about the IT tools. It could be anything. I got really interested as a representative of Diversity Charter in many different sectors, and to follow how they develop. So for instance, in the fashion sector, like 2 decades ago, for a black woman to buy tights, underwear, socks, like anything that would be skin colored was a challenge, because it was designed by white people for white people. And only once the fashion industry, when the companies became more diverse, when they hired black women, or when they opened and launched their own companies, this problem started being solved. Last week we had a conversation with you, Jurga, and with one other...
We talk every week, actually.
We talk every week with one woman from the commercial platform with job ads. What she said is that only when a blind person entered their team only for 1 day, and that person entered only for 1 day thanks to Do a Day, the initiative that SOPA is carrying for years now. So they understood that the job ads that they have online are not suitable for any program that blind people use to read, texts online. And only then they understood they have to change the way they publish their texts and they publish their job ads. And this is something relevant to all of us, because we all have websites, we all have clients, but do we know whether they're able, if everyone is able, to understand what we publish? So for me, it was like a fascinating thing, how to becoming more diverse for 1 single day could bring you such a huge difference, only if you want it, of course, if you listen and you understand that it could really bring added value.
Thank you, Rugile. Yeah, blind people cannot read ads when they are job ads, when it's in a picture, picture-based, format. Okay, I would like to go deeper into the notion or definition of diversity. Today we speak a lot about gender, but diversity is much wider. As all you know, it includes different characteristics like age, ethnicity, sexual identity and orientation, and belief system, social status also. So it's much wider, but nevertheless, very often organizations, they make some priorities, and they decide to put priority, for instance, on gender equality or on other priority, but others very often are left aside. So my question would be to Vaidas, how is that possible to keep this holistic approach to diversity? How organization can keep focus to differences, to very different various types of differences, and and how you manage, because Rimi is, from my point of view, is a good example how they really target different needs of very different people.
Hello, hello. Turn it on. Is it on? Hello to everybody. So maybe before I answer to this question, one small, let's say, point on the previous question. So in general, you know, how the diversity, by the way, I agree fully that diversity helps to drive innovation. So it was many times economically and statistically proven, so no much worth of arguing here. But let's say, maybe how diversity can help to gain a competitive, let's say, advantage on the market. And I would say here are two things. So first of all, you need to have better employees and better product and service. And in my opinion, diverse organization, so to say, utilize both of those aspects much better. Yeah, because talking about employees, you simply can choose from bigger employee pool, or let's say we know that employees, they seek, you know, to work for the companies where they can be themselves, and of course being talented but different, of course you would choose such a company. On the product side, so yeah, diversity within the organization definitely helps to understand, I think somebody mentioned that already, customers much better, you know, their behavior, their shopping habits. And that is a critical thing, by the way, with thinking with what kind of offering you go to the market, with what kind of unique selling proposition you are, so to say, competing in the market. Yeah. Now answering about, let's say, that holistic approach. So definitely it's not an easy thing, and here I should say I'm more of a supporter of the thinking that if you want to be everywhere, most probably you will end nowhere. So we as an organization, we still identified and set a couple of areas where we believe are, so to say, the closest to us, where we believe are closest to our values, to our, so to say, organization culture, to our business area. And in the case of our organization, we talk mainly about age diversity, about disabilities, and about recruitment of foreigners and refugees. And yeah, accordingly, we focus, you know, the most on these areas, and we do, you know, the most of our activities to make these areas naturally integral part of our organization. And maybe just to mention a couple of examples, for example, newly opened our stores, they are fully equipped and adapted to the disabled people with any kind of disability, and they even can work in the checkout because we made, you know, lower furniture. So, by the way, those stores are equipped not only for the employees disabled, but also for the customers, which is also very, very important. Yeah. At the same time, we do have different type of, let's say, learnings of sign language. Yeah. And there is one very nice example in one of our stores in Panevėžys, where there are a couple of persons with the hearing issues, and let's say all the team, they communicate with them with the sign language because they already know those things. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. I want to go back to Rugile, asking about the measurement, and why is that important to measure diversity in the organization? I know that you have some experience there, and how the measurement can help organization not to forget some aspects of diversity.
Yeah, I think that's really important. I understand when companies choose one aspect, for instance, you always need to start from somewhere, and you can't focus in the very beginning on every diversity aspect. But in the longer term, I think it's really important to understand that it's not enough. Because if we focus on gender equality, but we do not focus on LGBT, this means we're trying to help heterosexual women. We do not understand how other women feel. If we do not focus on disability, that means we try to understand and we help assist, engage only healthy women. So in the long term, it's just inevitable. Talking about the measurement, Well, I think it's safe to say that diversity and inclusion is relatively a new topic here in Lithuania. The situation is changing. It's changing quite rapidly. And currently, companies they start to understand that it's not enough to do initiatives. It's not enough to talk about them. There is a huge pool of initiatives that organizations are implementing, but a core question is, do they know that those initiatives are successful? Do they really know if they have to continue carrying on this initiative the next year? Why is this important? So with Diversity Charter members, last year we agreed that we'll seek for measurable change. We'll try to understand whether what we do really gives impact. So we already started doing this. Diversity Charter members now evaluate their diversity and inclusion climate, and we'll continue doing this every year to understand if the situation is changing or not, and to what extent. This will help us and the companies, organizations, have a new look at the strategies, at the action plans, at what we do, and be in fact more effective, be quicker in achieving the goals that's related to diversity and inclusion.
Thank you, Rugile. And from what you said, I think it's very important that diversity actions and initiatives would be not just written somewhere in the policy papers, yes, but it would be really live in the hearts and minds of each employee. And what do you think, Indra? How can organization what should they make that it's really something in the air of the climate of organization, that it's not just something written on the wall?
It's a great question, and I also heard few of the presenters saying that it's great to have nice policies, nice words, and I think all the companies have all these policies and they're like there, but I think before you have a case, you don't really know if it's working, and then you have to test run it in just literally and then see and learn. So again, my personal example, with my second baby, I came back after 2.5 months. My husband went to the paternity leave for a year. It was the test run of the policy company. How is it working? My family work-life balance. I have a small baby. I have to feed him. We always had this, nice family room, breastfeeding room. I did try it out and it was great. I set it up to my own needs. And I think these are small things that show. Another example, again, we all talk about how it is to be non-biased, at least to try to be not biased, as we know we're all biased. And we have all the trainings and everything, but then sometimes not necessarily it works. You're still a human. You still, again, quoting Baiba, you still are subjective. So another little tool that hopefully is helping us is how do you write your job ads? Because people write job ads. Team leaders are writing job ads, and they might have tendency to use certain words to try to look for qualifications that fit them, but not necessarily it's then encourages more diverse people to apply to that position. So then we have this very simple artificial intelligence tool that runs the scan and identifies which words are actually wrong or biased and how you could change them so the job ad would be less biased. So I think it's very, very important, and you have to have partnerships. I'm very happy we're also, partnering with SOPA. We are learning a lot from you. It's a progress. You have to keep on working and just to have the long plan in a run. You start doing changes here, changes there. It has to be like mentioned by Rugile, the over-encompassing, but really you just need to test and trial all these kind of things.
Okay, thank you, Indra. And you also said very concrete takeaway about the ads, about reviewing ads, and what would be, because I see we are running out of time. So very shortly, I would like to ask also Rugila, Vaidas, and Yeva, what would be takeaway for those organizations? Very concrete step. What they can do to expand diversity in organization and to be more innovative also.
We're like perfectly on time. I always saw this clock counting down. I would say that if you feel that you're at your company, you're at totally zero now with diversity and inclusion, that's okay, because everyone was there. But the most important is that you want to go forward. So if you do not know how, get in contact with us or with other companies that already started this journey, and we will help you.
Thanks.
Yeah, maybe just on the example of ourselves. So diversity takes a very important part in the philosophy of our, so to say, business understanding. Yeah, but we don't do that because it's fancy, because to get some marketing and communication credits, because everybody do like that. Yeah, we do that because we believe it's the right thing to do, because we believe it has a meaning. Because diversity is nothing else. It's us. It's ourselves. It's our friends. It's our families. Yeah, and when you have that so to say thinking in the organization, when it's already embedded in the culture, in the values of your company, then it very natural appears later on in the all formal processes of your company and in the daily life. But here I also want to stress one very important thing. I think it was also mentioned that diversity is good, but it can be unleashed and unlocked only in the certain environment. Yeah. So, and here I talk about the environment, where the persons can speak up, where they freely can come with their ideas to bring absolutely crazy things on the table, where we share all together, credits for the success, where we don't punish for the failures and mistakes. Only then diversity will show its full potential. And on my advice, so I think if you want to start, don't maybe chase for the soundest, for the most fancy, for the most visible diversity area, but once again, try to understand which is yours, which is the most natural to you, to your profile, to your let's say business area, and start from there. And later on, you will be able to expand gradually. And you need to understand that with that, you not only, so to say, do a nice gesture. You will not only help to somebody, but you will grow up. You will grow up as an organization. You will grow up as a human being, which will make, again, your life much more meaningful. And that's important.
Thank you. Very inspirational. And I am coming back to our Vice Minister online. What would be your takeaway for the organization, for the companies?
Thank you very much. Actually, I was extremely inspired by this discussion, and especially even by those final remarks by all the guests. In the public sector, there sometimes is a feeling that such policies as gender equality, inclusiveness, and stuff like that is some kind of luxury. But I can see that we all sometimes struggle, and what has been said before, that every step counts if it is done in a sincere manner. So I believe that it is very, very important, and I can actually I actually got some takeaways. Where should we start from what Rugila said and what our speaker said, that one of the most important things is to start measuring and start taking notice. And I believe that these can be incorporated in our everyday business. So thank you very much.
Thank you. And thank you all for really, for me at least, it was really a nice and interesting discussion.